monetary development. What monetary developments are there? So since May 2020, the policy rates hold along with the monetary policy. So there was a CPI of 4%. Earlier CPI was 4.25, reduced to 4.0 as a accommodative stance. So इसीलिए इसको accommodative stance कहते हैं, so that the inflation should be targeted and managed to a certain level, so that the inflation does not cross that level, and the products which are on daily needs such as onion, potato, tomato, vegetables and such things are to be managed in a certain controlled way. Okay, still it rose to 5.5 in latter phase we saw in December, and WPI was also 12.4. So the reasons for keeping repo fixed is to change the inflationary pressure. As I already said, inflation को check करने के लिए, and adverse supply shocks. What are the supply shocks? Such as there was a problem with the manufacturing units that lead to the supply side, which were transportation. So in transportation we saw that there was a lack of containers to transport the logistics, जहाँ पे कंटेनर्स की काफ़ी कमी हो गई थी ड्यू टू पेंडेमिक सिचुएशन. तो उसके कारण लॉकडाउन में ट्रांसपोर्टेशन नहीं हो पा रहा था, एंड दैट लीड्स टू डिक्लाइन इन द सप्लाई साइड. So although there was a low in pre-pandemic time, but in the post-pandemic time it was quite high. Fluctuating aggregates demand throughout this year, we saw that there was already fluctuating situation, especially in terms of global market due to spillover effect from various countries. So we saw that there was problem with China, there was problem with Russia, Ukraine crisis was there, rising oil prices, and such things leads to spillover effect on Indian economy. Now what is money aggregates? So YV relates to working group called as money supply in terms of NM0, NM1, NM2 and NM3 broad money. Now remember this basic point, NM1 is narrow money, that is money that is currency in circulation plus demand draft. M2 C plus DD plus post office savings. M3 M1 plus time liabilities, that is fixed deposits. Then there is M4 M3 plus M1. So this new formula in order to tackle the inflation was given by YV Reddy committee, which suggests that the NM1, that is narrow money, it is currency in circulation plus demand draft, and the NM3 broad money again makes the growth parameters. So M0 was 13%, that is 7.7% due to change in CRR. So CRR was reduced from 5 to 5.5%, and currency in circulation CIC again goes to 7.8%. M3, as you can see, is 9.9%. So despite the overall monetary and credit conditions remained accommodative, the growth rates of the monetary aggregates were lower as compared to the last year, especially after the changes in the cash reserve ratio. CRR जैसे ही change हो गया था, वैसे ही the monetary measures were changed and the money in circulation was changed in the economy. Now money multipliers. These money multipliers are, as we see in the previous slide, M0, M1, M2, M3. These are called as money multipliers. So it caters the growth of broad money. What is broad money? This M2 and M3 and M4 are called as broad money. And due to the expansion of aggregate deposits, so deposits were again high during the pandemic. due to which the broad money again rises. The sources from these aggregates are banks' credit to the government, that is banks' higher investment in the liquid and risk-free assets such as SLR securities and G6. यानी कि बैंक्स ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कहाँ इन्वेस्ट कर रहे थे फ्रेंड्स? G6 सिक्योरिटीज़ में as well as higher SLR due to the COVID lockdown. They have lots of surplus of funds. तो इसके चलते उनके पास लिक्विडिटी ज़्यादा होगी. Then the money multiplier is the ratio of M3 to M0. M3 to M0 ratio is money multiplier, and it has been declined since 17 and 18. It was 5.2 in March, and from 5.2 to a year ago, so it was 5.6 and rise to 5.3, and as on 31st December 2021. Remember this latest data, that is on 31st December 2021 को 5.3% है. Now adjusted money multiplier for reverse repo was at 4.6. Adjusted money multiplier कितना है? 4.6. It means that the monetary policy is balanced and the growth is constant. Now MM reflects the parking of funds by the banks under the reverse window of the RBI, and that leads to a creation of weak credit process. इसके चलते क्या हो गया? Credit process was declined and weakened. Now RBI says that know your customer. In the pandemic situation there was various fake accounts. तो इन सबको कैटर करने के लिए KYC नॉर्म लाए गए थे. And one proof of identity, one address with recent photograph, Aadhaar card, driving license, voter ID, passport, Narega card can be taken as an identity proof. So even without proof of identity, address, that is a temporary address of a person, can be taken into consideration about withdrawal of 10,000 per month, and banks need to reconfirm the KYC every second, 8th or 10th year depending on the risk profile. Now the government adjusted this for the risk profiling. For grievances, if any, about KYC process, please complain your bank. So this is guideline for the banks. Next, liquidity condition and its measurement, that is VRRR. So this is again very important term which was in news and economy survey, that is variable reverse repo rate. How this rate makes the headline, let us see. So let us discuss that what is repo, what is reverse repo. Repo rate is a rate at which government or RBI lend money to the banks. Reverse repo rate is that rate at which banks lend money back to the RBI. And what is variable reverse repo rate? So suppose there are 3 or 4 banks and they are having certain funds of 3.4 lakh crores, 3.2 lakhs crore and 3.6 lakh crore. Suppose IDBI है and SBI and IndusInd Bank हो गए हैं. Now this bank in collateral asks RBI that we will take the decision of reverse repo according to our availability of funds that we will give to you. तो ये सारे बैंक क्या करेंगे? They will discuss in together that we can deposit certain kind of funds such as 2 lakh crore at a rate of 3.2 or 3.4, but government says that the reverse repo is 3.35. So these banks will say that no, we will deposit at their variable reverse repo at 3.4. So this is a new concept, that is variable reverse repo, and RBI has sole sovereign authority whether to accept these funds and this mechanism or not. That depends on the Reserve Bank of India. Now the key factor of this surplus in liquidity are special measures taken by RBI. So RBI take VRRR, that is variable reverse repo rate, in order to justify or make a negotiative stance with the banks who want to deposit money to the RBI. Deposit money back to RBI. Okay. Now, liquidity adjustment facility was quite good due to reverse repo. Special finance facilities of 66,000 crore to all India financial institutions by RBI, comprising of 25,000 crore to the National Agriculture Bank for Rural Development. नाबार्ड को कितने फंड दिए गए? 25,000 crores of fund phase 2 नाबार्ड. Then 10,000 crore to the National Housing Bank. National Housing Bank को 10,000 crore and 31,000 crore to the Small Industries and Development Bank of India, SIDBI. Remember this data for your mains point of view. Now we are looking at the monetary measures in terms of repo rate, which shows again unchanged to 4%. Reverse repo rate was around 3.35%. GDP projection 9.5%, and inflation projection was 5.3%. So again, these data are very useful for your prelims as well as mains point of view, as a fodder to justify your answer. Okay. Now, special long-term repo operation SLTRO for small finance bank was around 10,000 crore to support the small banks unit and other unorganized sector entities. Again, we saw barbell strategy. So unorganized sector को help करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट ये फंड प्रोवाइड कर रही है अराउंड 10,000 करोड़. ऑन टैप लिक्विडिटी विंडो ऑफ 15,000 करोड़ फॉर कॉन्टैक्ट इंटेंसिव सेक्टर्स. कॉन्टैक्ट इंटेंसिव सेक्टर्स जहाँ पे लोग डायरेक्टली किसी चीज़ पे इंडल्ज होते हैं, इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, दैट इज कॉन्टैक्ट इंटेंसिव सेक्टर्स. नाउ एक्सटेंशंस ऑफ वन टैप टारगेटेड लॉन्ग टर्म रेपो ऑपरेशंस, ऑन टैप TLTRO टर्म लॉन्ग टर्म रेपो ऑपरेशंस टिल 31st December 2021, यानी कि 31st December 2021 तक टारगेटेड लॉन्ग टर्म रेपो ऑपरेशन को कैटर किया गया. Now we see how the frequencies of M0, CRR and CIC, that is currency in circulation, shown by this statics. So in April 2019 we saw that 16% of score for CRR, then below 16 was this CIC and more below. So it is again shows a declining tendency in COVID situation. There was first lockdown, then again there was little rise as the lockdown curtailed, then again declined slowly to a minimum level. More decline in currency in circulation and CRR more decline, currency in circulation even more decline. Again it shows a rising trend, and it was a good recovery for currency in circulation due to the monetary measures taken by RBI. Currency in circulation rise due to accommodative stance. Now we